Hey everyone, it's Ed Bazaar here from Live Guitar Solos, and we have a very special guest today, Andrea Krakowska.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
All good. Yeah, look, you're a very busy person, and I really want to get into everything that you do and that has done. I admire your work ethic as a musician, as an artist. So yeah, it's an honor to have you here.
No, thanks so much. I'm so excited. It was great to meet you at the show the other night too.
Yeah. It was a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago. It was at your Toxic Dolls gig, and
Yeah, right.
that's great.
Yeah, that was a really fun night. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but yeah, like you mentioned, it was probably a few weeks ago now.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's so good. I was so impressed, and obviously Jay Perino was there, and
Yeah, he killed it. I had so much fun. That was actually like I've known Jay for many years, and I've played on. He's come on stage with our band a couple of times, but that was like my first time doing an actual gig with him. So we were pretty pleased about that. And he plays. He had his ESP guitar there too, which he let me play. So that was really fun.
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I want to go back. I just want to go back, rewind to when you grew an interest for music. So from what I understand, you started off as a ballet dancer when you're really young. Is that true? Or
Yeah, I did Tiny Tots ballet when I was like about 4 years old with my friend. Yeah, I remember going to classes and doing the whole, it was classical ballet. And then later on, we also did like jazz and tap and some like more modern styles. But yeah, started off with classical ballet. And then a couple of years, or like a year later, I think, my parents set me up into piano lessons. It was actually a keyboard that they taught on at the time, but I learnt how to play keyboard in the back of a music truck that used to come once a week to the primary school that I was going to. So it was literally a truck, and it would pull up at the front of the school at like 3:30. And when you rolled up the back of the truck, they had like 5 or 6 keyboards in there, and it went for half an hour, and the teacher just went around for like 5 minutes to each student. So that was my introduction to actually playing music and not just dancing to it.
that's great. How old were you then?
I would have been like 5 or 6.
Oh, that's great. I think the earlier the better when you learn music because kids at that age they just soak things in just at a crazy rate. You know.
Definitely. Yeah. I actually had no idea what I was doing. I had to practice, and the keyboard that I had to practice on was one of I think they still make it. It's like the little Casio. I don't think it's even 2 octaves, and the keys aren't even normal size. Like they're the tiny keys, right? Like I learned on this tiny, probably cost my parents like $20 at the time. This tiny, not even a real keyboard. And they'd sit it on like just the dining table and just make me practice it.
Because your fingers would have been so tiny then anyway at 5 years old, right?
I think so, but like now I can see that 5-year-olds can play on a normal sized piano, and I think it was just a cost thing at the time.
Okay. So that was a pretty young age, and so you had the dancing, and then you began with the music. So there was a lot of music. Was there a lot of music at home as well?
Definitely not. I did not really come from a super musical background like some of the other musicians I know. No, definitely you can still become a musician even if your family doesn't really have that at home. Like my mum still says to me that she doesn't even really listen to music. She listens to it more now, maybe because I'm a musician, but she never listened to music. My dad would listen to music, and probably anything musical that I have probably would have come from his side, but he played a little bit of guitar and would listen to music at home. But that's probably the closest thing that I have. Some of his uncles are musicians, but it wasn't some like people that were around growing up. No, definitely not. So I think it just shows that even without a super musical background, if you're interested in it, anyone can totally pursue it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's interesting. I never would have imagined that. But hey, we've all got different sort of upbringings, and did you sort of gravitate towards if your mom didn't listen to that much music, did you gravitate towards more what your dad was listening to,
I was
or your
definitely impacted more like you can see that my influences, or you can hear that my influences are more like rock based, which was definitely what he would listen to. at home. Like I remember him listening to, like a big one was obviously AC/DC. He loved listening to them, and some other big bands, but I can't remember, like Deep Purple. Who else? You know, like just the classics that were around in like sort of the 80s, I guess, when he was when he would have been listening to that stuff, and then he just kept listening to the same sort of stuff when we were kids. So we did sort of, I do remember him like sitting us down to watch like MTV or Rage, like when they were on TV. So I was listening to like current music as well, not just the old stuff. But yeah, the stuff that he would listen to was more that kind of 80s rock.
Yeah, so it seems like it definitely had an effect on you. How would you say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I loved it. He was the reason, I guess, that we picked up guitar. He bought us our first guitar, and then I just kept going. I remember like watching him play some chords and trying to work out how to play it. And the guitar that I had was another small instrument, so it was like one of the quarter size, you know, the nylon string Valencias, the quarter size one of those. I remember trying to play chords on that, and even like though my fingers were little, I just remember thinking, how on earth do people do this? Like, you know, like trying to change from like an A chord to like a D chord. And I was just thinking, this is like impossible. Like, how can anyone ever do this? And then one day, I don't even remember how it happened. I could just do it, but I don't really remember the stages of progression in that sense. It was just like, oh, I can play those chords now. I can change between chords like pretty confidently, which was which was weird. When I just remember thinking like, there's no way anyone can do that.
How old would you have been at that time? So piano at 5, and then guitar at what sort of age?
It would have just been a couple of years later, like still primary school age. So yeah, still fairly young. And then when I got into high school is when I got my first full-sized electric guitar. And then it was just, you know, then I was just into all the rock, all the metal and all that sort of stuff. And there was just like sort of no going back. I feel like once I picked up that guitar.
That is so cool. That is so awesome. Yes. So those the instruments you learn, your influences. What made you fall in love with guitar though? Was it just simply because what was it, the music that was around you, or what was it about the guitar that was? And why didn't you pursue piano instead?
I still do play piano. I think the thing I liked about guitar was I liked guitar-based music, like you mentioned, or like I mentioned, that my dad listens to a lot of rock. So not much piano in rock. And I just gravitated towards the guitar as an instrument purely due to the music that I liked. So when I started learning guitar, I remember learning heaps of Green Day songs, right? Like I pretty much learned how to play power chords because I learned the entire American Idiot album from start to finish, and I would just play that. I think it went for like 40 minutes, and that just built up my stamina, especially in my left hand, to hold those power chords, right? And then from there, when I wanted to start to learn something a little bit harder than power chords, I started looking at, you know, metal, like bands like Metallica, learning like more complicated riffs and harder solos. So I just kept going from there, and I've always played the piano as well. So I still play piano in my show. And I played on all my tracks, all the piano that you can hear in the background, all the synth stuff. I played all that as well. So it's definitely not lost, but I guess guitar is more of a feature of the music that I like.
Right. And how far did you advance with the piano as well? Like, so did you sort of stop at a certain point and sort of teach yourself, or how far did the education with that go with the piano?
I had piano lessons till about 13, and I think they sort of weaned off after that. Yeah, I'd say early high school I continued with the lessons and then stopped from there.
Yeah, so that's like a good 8 years. If you said from five, like just continuous lessons for 8 years, like that at that young, yeah. Like it's definitely would have stuck with you for sure.
Oh, definitely, yeah, and it was all classical piano, so you know, well, I learned a lot during that time.
So where did you sort of get into the aerial performances? Because that's a big part of your show about what you do, right? How did that come into your life?
Stuff honestly came about. The story was that one day I just signed up for this thing called aerial classes, and I had no idea what it was, right? So I rocked up at the studio where they were training that, and it was during the school holidays, so there were no like kids at the dance studio or anything. I remember I walked in And there wasn't anyone else there yet because I was a bit early because it was my first time. And I walked in and I saw the instructor and one of the advanced students practicing a routine that they were doing for an event. And I just remember just like sitting there watching it, being like, oh my God, this is incredible. I don't know how they're doing that. I'd not really seen much aerial stuff before. And from that moment, I just knew that that was something I wanted to get into. And by the end of my first class, I couldn't do much in my first class. I could do up maybe 2 climbs. My arms were pumped. I couldn't even drive home. I thought, how am I going to, like, I can't even grip the steering wheel. My hands were so pumped. And I just remember already thinking after that class that I want to do this with a guitar one day.
Very nice. I mean, yeah, I don't know if, because when I saw you doing it, and I thought, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I haven't seen this before. I don't know if there's many actually doing guitar as well as swinging in the air.
Yes, no, it's definitely something that I wanted to get behind. And the good thing about it is that there's not sort of any expectation, I guess, because I feel like I'm inventing it kind of on my own. Like there's no one, it's the hardest thing, but it's probably the most freeing thing is that there's no one to teach me how to do aerial while playing a guitar. So I've spent years trying to come up with this myself, from how to hold the guitar, how to attach it to myself. Like I went through thousands of guitar straps and harnesses and all sorts of contraptions. I became a bit of an inventor in my bedroom trying to come up with a way to secure the guitar to myself. I also tried a few different aerial apparatuses. So I've done performances on Lyra. I did trapeze for a while, and the silk, and now the chord, which has been my favorite with the guitar so far. So it's definitely been a super long process to get it to this point, but I'm so happy with how far it's come, and I still have so many more ideas to try in the future. So there's still lots of aerial guitar tricks left to be discovered or to be worked out, I believe.
Yeah, it's a very, very the innovation. I really appreciate that. But you're also doing performances. Recently, I believe you did some silk performances, right? The actual silk material, right? So where you?
I train on silk as well. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Have you done shows for that?
I've done shows on the silks. Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. There's silks and rope in my aerial guitar show.
What can you not do? That just fascinates me.
You know what I can't do, Ed? I can't play drums, and I always wanted to learn. And now that I'm an adult, people are like, "Oh, why don't you just learn drums?" And I was like, you know what? Like now that I actually probably could go out and learn it, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, but I want to spend that time on guitar or aerial guitar, and it's just not. Yeah, but I can't play drums, and I would love to if I could just wake up and just be able to play drums, but unfortunately, the skill is not like that.
But yeah, but your determination, your focus is on where you're headed now with what you've innovated, and that in itself is just it's great to see. You know, it's motivational and inspirational for any young person or any person in general, musician or whatever. You don't have to stick to the same, just playing guitar. You can mix it up. Like you might have a skill in something else, and you know, within performing arts, and maybe mix it together like you're doing. So it's all about the creative process, really, right?
Exactly. Like there are no rules when it comes to performance. And I hope that people that listen to my music or come to my shows, I just want them to take away from it that, you know, when you put the hard work into it, there's not much that you can't achieve. So definitely don't let the little things sort of get in the way of achieving what you want or going for your goals.
Yeah, very well said. So I met you, as we mentioned, at the Toxic Dolls gig. There's an all-girl band, covers band, and you girls have been together for so long. Or the band in itself has been. How long has it been? Have they been around for?
The Dolls have been around for 10 years. Would you believe it? It's it's crazy. It doesn't seem like it's like the time has just flown by. I know some of those years were during the pandemic, but yeah, still the band's been together for more than 10 years. So that's insane. I think that's a testament to the band itself as well.
Yeah, and I think you've obviously, sorry, you've done the the band has uh, grown a name for themselves in Sydney.
It's just like a constantly evolving band of musicians. So I think I've played with at least 20 different dolls, even though it's a 5-piece band. There are just so many talented women out there that the band gets to play the shows. So every time you see the show, it's definitely so much skill, but also a completely different experience each time because you never know who's going to be playing.
Yeah, definite professionals in what they do. The Toxic Dolls, and so as I mentioned to you as well, I'm going to see Thirsty Merc. So hopefully, I get to meet Ray, Thistlethwaite, and also obviously the Buckleys are playing tonight. They're which is a country band from Byron Bay. I like their stuff, but I like country as well. I'm pretty open minded personally, and probably you are as well because you were in a country band as well, right?
That's it. Yes, the band that I played in, Southbound XO, was a country band. We've done a lot of shows with the Buckleys. They are a great band to see. I always loved watching them live. Lachlan is a killer guitarist too, so you will really enjoy their set. And yeah, Southbound XO was a country band, country rock, country pop, that sort of vibe. All girls as well. And we played our last show in March this year. So that's project has finished up now, but it was a great time. I've played some massive festivals with them. We even went international. We headlined a festival over in New Zealand, and we released a bunch of chart-topping hits as well. We had our first #1, which was a collab with Shannon Noll, so that was really exciting for us. And I learnt so much being in that band as well. It was such a great experience.
Yeah, look, and which just shows just in terms of your open-mindedness to, you cover the metal, you delved into country, you listen to, you began playing punk music, the American Idiot album. So that's excellent. And like the band itself, you girls made some great songs, I have to say. Like the like that the one with Shannon Noll. I mean, and then I think it was a Canadian country artist girls did a song with as well.
Tim Hicks, yeah.
Tim Hicks, yeah, that's the one, and that's fantastic. So it's been announced recently that you are the new guitarist of Pseudo Echo.
Yeah, that's exciting. They just announced it, and I realized that I only played a month of shows with that band, and I'm already they already consider me a part of the family and part of the Pseudo Echo band, and I'm going to be going on tour with them full time from next year. So that's going to be really exciting, and it was so unexpected. I remember when their tour manager called me and asked me to do this fill-in show. I spent hours, days, like learning the material for their show. And I, even like when I was doing the show, I never expected to be back there so soon anyway. So that was really a surprise. And I can't believe that, it was only a month ago that I didn't even know that I was going to be in the band. Like I was just playing a fill-in show. So I'm really happy about that. And it's going to be a really fun year next year.
What a surprise. Hey. And obviously they're a legendary band. They've been around for so long, since the 80s. You're delving now into the new wave territory, right? With the
yeah, it's believe that this chick who started off playing like classical piano and then like metal guitar has played in a country band, and then now a new wave like 80s band. Like most of the songs I'm learning were released before I was born. Like, isn't that mental, that band? It's a true testament to that band that they have stood the test of time, and their shows are packed out. All of their shows, they are packed out, so they are still going super strong.
And the thing with them, like, they've released so much music, so many albums, and they've been consistent like throughout the years. It's not like they took hiatus or anything. I mean, really, it's just been consistent releases of albums. I mean, so much music,
Yes, and next year is going to be the Love and Adventure tour. So we're going to be touring that entire album for its, can you believe it, 40th year anniversary. So that album was released 40 years ago, and you get to experience the whole album live. I don't know if they've ever toured the entire catalogue of that album live. Maybe they have, but if not, then this is going to be the first time that you're going to get to hear all of those songs from the Love and Adventure tour, from the Love and Adventure album live. So I think that's going to be really exciting.
Something Australians should not miss. Pseudo Echo with Andrea Prokopska there, and such a legendary catalogue of music that they have, and that new wave sound, the synth rock, the guitar coming out.
I absolutely love the guitar. Yeah, Maddie, who plays the guitar in Pseudo Echo, is insane. There are so many like guitar or keys parts in that song, and he just nails them all. It was truly incredible to see, and he looks amazing on stage too.
Yes, something to watch. I'm definitely going to try and catch a show as well myself. So tell us about your new releases. So you've just released a couple of days ago, I think it was the Land of the Tatras.
That's it. Yeah, I just released my second single as a solo instrumental guitarist, which is called Land of the Tatras. And this one was inspired by where my family is from, which is a country in Eastern Europe that you may have heard of. It's called Slovakia. It's where it is. It's sort of like between Poland, Ukraine, Hungary, Czech Republic, in between those countries there, Austria. So it's not many people, like when I tell them where I'm from, have heard of that country before. So I wanted to sort of show where my family is from and give people the sort of experience of being in Slovakia, or at least seeing some of the highlights of Slovakia, which for me was the Tatra Mountains. It's a really beautiful mountain range in northern Slovakia. It's on the border of Slovakia and Poland. And I was really lucky enough to go there last year, and I got to shoot this music video there. So I'm so excited to have it out in the world. The scenery is just stunning. Blacklist Productions did an insane job on the video clip, and it's really cool to have the song out there.
Yeah, guys, check out the film clip and the song. It's available on all major platforms. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's available on all major platforms and on YouTube. You can find the music video as well.
Yeah, and because I did see some of that clip, and you're right, that just the view, and it's so epic. You're just doing your guitar solo in front of the mountains. Like, guys, you got to check it out. And the song itself is pretty epic as well. I think, but the emotion behind it, you're really sort of is it sort of based on sort of like the scenery, or is there a deeper sort of meaning towards the melodies behind the song?
In that song, I wanted to, so it's a little bit different to my first release. In that one, I definitely wanted to go a lot more onto the emotional, the melancholy side of things there. So when I was writing that song, I was just thinking about the stories that my parents and their older relatives would tell me about growing up in Slovakia. You know, they grew up there during when the Soviet Union was ruling the country. So they would tell me all sorts of stories, you know, like how you couldn't even listen to Western music on the radio. I remember my dad's uncles telling me about how I don't truly understand what they were saying, but something about how they would have to hide in the forest to have these like musician meetups where they would like come and play music together and then try not to get caught by the Russians. I don't know the exact circumstances around that, but so in the song I wanted to reflect on those hard times that the people of Slovakia experienced, but also I didn't want it to just be a sad song. You know, there's definitely that idea of hope and resilience throughout the song as well. So I think the song will resonate with anyone that's faced hardship and come out the other side. But all those themes of hope and resilience, they're all universal themes. So I think that it will resonate with anyone from anywhere across the world.
Definitely, there's a lot of emotion behind the notes you're playing, mixed with obviously the scenic views and so yeah, so it's nice to have that sort of background that you've given, because it really shows that there is some struggle, because it's a bit more minor key. I'd have to say, like this, which is great, but you really described to us the history behind it. So there's a lot of meaning there. So yeah, guys, you got to check that out. But you've also released a single in January, I believe.
My debut single in January. called Illusion, and that was my entry into the world of instrumental guitar music, you know, following on like some of my guitar heroes like Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, and even Nita Strauss. And that's sort of my vision out there in the world. That one's a super energetic rock metal influenced track, and it's I've absolutely loved being on this journey of releasing music on my own. It's so different to releasing music with a band. It's can be a bit lonely at times, you know, like you've only got yourself to fall back on. Every decision that you make, you know, it's on you to make it work. But it's been a really cool experience. I definitely learned a lot from being in the bands about the, you know, the process of releasing music and touring and everything, which I definitely brought all of that knowledge that I've gained into releasing my first release and then my second one now as well. And I'm working on an EP, so hopefully that one should be ready next year.
Oh, cool. I'm definitely going to stay tuned to that. So, everyone, yeah, how exciting. You sort of built the groundwork to sort of give us whet our appetites for what's to come. So, yeah, and that Illusion film clip, I loved it. And I was scared when those bad guys were coming and they're going to get you. I was like, oh no. In my mind, I was imagining you're going to have like laser beams coming out of your guitar. But anyway, that's my. I'm thinking SpongeBob, but anyway, it was much better outcome with what is on the actual film clip. Guys, you got to check it out. No, it was really good. Very exciting to see new releases coming out from you. How does it feel like you said, that the difference between touring, but did you feel a sense of accomplishment having after all these sort of all these years that you've been playing guitar to actually have your own film clip, your own song, your own? Is there a sense of accomplishment there?
Yeah, definitely, because you know I've as far as I know, I've not seen many other female Australian guitarists releasing instrumental music out there. And when I first, you know, put Illusion out, I don't even know what I expected to come from it. But, you know, like hearing that song being played on the radio, like it was even played on like national, like ABC radio played the song. And I thought, gee, like this is nuts. Like I've never heard much instrumental music played on the radio. I didn't expect it to be a radio release. And it was just nuts to see the country sort of getting behind this sort of music, and which I think is really cool because, you know, a lot of people are always like, why don't you sing? And I think there's a lot of, you know, I don't know if stigma is the right word, like of people like that think that like a female musician should be a singer and that the instrument should maybe come second. And there are so many female talented singers out there. I don't think we need me to be singing. And I love, you know, trying to be like the female like Joe Satriani or Steve Vai, and like hopefully other girls out there that don't want to be singers will be able to see that and think that, you know, they can go out there, and even if you don't want to be a solo guitarist, just get out there and just play in some bands or something. Like there's so many more women out in the music scene now, and I'd love to see more as well.
Yeah, there's still very motivational, and there's so many legends that have done the instrumental thing, you know, like Jennifer Batten, and I mean, there's so many out there, you know, and it's something. There is this room for it. There is a space. There is an audience for that. But I think you're definitely opening up, and in a lot of ways, to the Australian guitar community, or female guitar community, that it is possible. So it's very encouraging to see. What gear do you use? Like what guitar and what amp? Like what is your favorite sort of equipment to use when at a gig or even live? Sorry, at a gig or in the studio. Sorry.
So anyone that's followed me or seen me play or seen me on social media would probably recognize me by my red ESP Eclipse. I've even recognized myself by that guitar. I remember once like scrolling through my feed and seeing an ad for some festival, right? And there was this red guitar in the ad, and I thought, gee, it looks a lot like my guitar. And I zoomed in, and they were using like a picture of me. But it was funny that I recognized the guitar before I recognized myself in the picture. So it's an ESP Eclipse, and I've got a couple of other guitars from ESP as well, some of from their LTD range, which you would see is my flying guitar. The LTD's that I use there. And amp wise, my favorite amp by far that I've ever had and played is my EVH 5150. That is a killer amp. You would have seen me rocking that one. No, you actually didn't see it at that Dolls gig. I usually use that one for local shows. I didn't for Manly because of the load in for that one. And Jay Farina was kind enough to lend me his foldback. So my touring gear is a Fractal FM3, which I don't know if you've seen. It's just a little portable unit about this big. Fits in a small road case. You could probably even put it in your carry-on if it wasn't too heavy, and you would definitely get stopped at airport security because they would be like, "What on earth is that you're trying to take through into the terminal?" But that is my touring rig, and I love that because I know that I'm going to have the same sound at every show, no matter what backline is provided. And when you're playing like the big festivals, especially as a country band, you probably the backline is probably either like a Fender Deluxe or a Fender DeVille or like a Vox AC30. But the sound that I want is something a lot bigger than that. So touring with the Fractal stuff has been amazing. I love it so much. And gear wise, and then obviously for the aerial stuff, I need to go wireless. So for my wireless unit, I've been using the Boss, the WL60. They make one of the plug-in ones as well, but I prefer the belt pack just for the spinning stuff. I believe that I'm less likely to break it. And it's also just nice having the belt pack and the receiver nice and secure. So yeah, that's sort of like the highlights of the gear that I use. And then because I still play piano, it's a Roland RD300 that I use for all the piano stuff.
So, do you use all similar kind of things in the gear in the studio as well?
Yeah, the good thing about the FM3 is that it's you can just plug it straight in. It actually acts as an interface as well. The old unit that I used to have from Fractal, the Axe8, didn't, so you'd have to go, through an interface into your recording program. But the FM3 has a built-in interface, so you literally just plug and play. It's so easy. Most of like my guitar stuff that I record at home, like the covers and just little bits of content here and there, it's all recorded on that, and I just put it straight into my recording software and just jam away. It's super easy and super convenient as well.
Fantastic. So why are you using ESP guitars? I think they're great, but why did you decide to go with that rather than anything else?
I think like guitar players will know that there's just a like plethora of guitar brands out there, and there was a guitar shop that I always wanted to go to, and this was like before I had the ESP. I think the guitar I had before that was I was playing the PRS, the Orianthi Signature, because I was a fan of her at the time. Still am. I might go see her in January. And I was just, I was in the market for a new guitar. Like I'd gone to a couple of guitar stores in Sydney. There's not like a super big one in Sydney. I'd been to some like around Wollongong. There's a few like slightly bigger ones there. But I've known this big guitar store in Canberra. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's called Better Music. Yes, Better Music. Massive music shop, not just guitar, like massive music store down in Canberra. So I took my partner and we went down to Canberra, and he was the one that I would always take with me to the shops to try all the guitars and tell me if they're good, because I was too self-conscious to play in front of the shopkeepers. So I'd literally pull the guitars that I wanted to try off the shelf and tell him to play them first for me. And so we went to this store, and like so many guitars there, right? And I remember like seeing some that I liked. I was, looking at a couple of Ibanez guitars that had the Floyd Rose, because I was quite interested in one of those. I'd never had one before. And I remember the shopkeeper came over to us and said to my partner, "I don't think you should get her a Floyd Rose guitar for her first guitar." And I just didn't really say anything. I think my partner said something like, "Oh, it's not her first guitar," or whatever. So we tried like a bunch of guitars at that store, and I was like, I'd gone there with the mindset that I was going to leave with a guitar, but I tried so many guitars and I didn't feel like any of them were the one. I think I just walked in with too many expectations. Like I was like, oh, I want the guitar to have like 24 frets, and I want it to be like this shape, and I want, possibly a Floyd Rose, and all of this, ridiculous idea that I had in mind. And none of those guitars really met that. And so before we left, we decided that we'd go get something to eat. And then while we were at the restaurant, I just randomly was like, are there any other guitar shops in Canberra? And there was one. It was a smaller one. And mind you, this is a Sunday. So I was like, okay, well, I don't even know if they're going to be open. It was probably like 4:30 or 4 o'clock at the time, I don't know, too late for a music shop to be open, I think, on a Sunday. But we went there and it was open. And I walked into that store and their guitars were all the way at the back of the store. But when I walked in, I saw the ESP Eclipse, like from a distance. I saw it and I thought, I want to try that guitar, which I didn't have that feeling about any of the guitars at the other massive stores. So we went in, I took the guitar down, gave it to my partner, said, hey, play this one. And he played it and he was like, yeah, that's a good guitar. And, I didn't even know the brand ESP. I said, is that a good brand? And he just looks at me and he goes, oh, yeah, that's a good brand. He was like, that is, and then he told me a bunch of bands that I like that play that brand, like Parkway Drive, Metallica. And I was like, okay, if it's good enough for Metallica, it's good enough for me. So he gave it to me. And that shop had like one of those little rooms that you could go into and jam out. So I played it and I just instantly I knew that I wanted that guitar. But it was over the budget that I had set, right? Like it was like over $2,000. And I think I'd set 2 as my limit. Somehow we made it work and I walked away with the guitar. And that's just how that started. So yeah, it went from me not even knowing the brand to just falling in love with that guitar. I think it was the last one of that guitar. Like they don't make it in that finish anymore. They still obviously make heaps of Eclipses, but I've not really seen, only maybe like 2 people on social media have sort of sent me pictures of their guitars of the same one. I think I've only ever seen 2 others out there in the world, but not even in real life. And I absolutely love it. I would be devastated if anything happened to it.
Yeah, what a story. I mean, I sort of thought, by asking that question, like you probably would have known that Kirk Hammett played ESP, even James Hetfield. But you kind of came to that realization in a roundabout way, which is pretty cool. Because
like I never really like must have noticed when I was playing all that Metallica stuff. Never really must have looked at the headstocks of the guitars that they were playing. Like,
but you found the one that sounded right to you. It just felt right. And you had a sort of an emotional connection to the guitar and the tone and all those things, right?
Yeah, and like all my like criteria, like my checklist, just flew out the window. Like it was it doesn't have a Floyd Rose. It's 22 frets, but it just fit my hand, and I just loved it.
And you knew you were going to come out with a guitar that day.
Well, yeah, it was touch and go there for a minute, but then we settled on that one.
That's a cool story. That's look. I was just curious to see about your gear and all that, and you're a true professional in what you do, and it's clear to see. I just want to see. We're going to finish up now, but I just want to see. I'll ask you: have you got some words of motivation for any young guitarist or any musician in general that are trying to, make it, or actually I have some sort of career, really, just in general, out of their love for music, So, what would your motivation be for them being an artist today, knowing how the industry is and all this, and but also with social media? What is some words of advice you got?
You know what? It is a crazy world. I know a lot of people complain about social media, but you've got to see it. I think if you want to be a musician, you've got to see that as an opportunity, and that is your opportunity to get yourself out there. You don't need, like, look at me. You don't need a record label. You don't need a manager. Like, I don't even have a publicist. I've reached out to a few in the lead up to my first single, and they either didn't reply or told me that they weren't going to take me on. So, you can definitely have the opportunity to do all that yourself now because of things like social media. And you just have to be really, really passionate about what you do, because a lot of being a musician isn't playing music. You know, there's so much that you have to do behind the scenes, like promoting your songs, filming content. Then you get to do the fun stuff like writing songs, recording and playing shows. But there's so much behind the scenes that goes on that you have to really, really love what you do. And if you do, it'll show. You'll find ways to make it work, you know? Like, I remember people telling me, like, oh, you have to do this on social media. You have to make this specific TikTok. And I did that for a while, and I thought, you know what? That's just not me. Like, that's not my personality, or that's not my, you know, brand. Like, I don't want to be making, you know, TikToks about me, like putting on makeup, getting ready for, like, that's not sort of what my brand or what my music is about. Find what works for you, and find what content is going to allow like your personality or your music or what you want to convey or show to the world. And, you know, it might not be the next viral video, but when people do look through your Instagram or your TikTok or your catalog, you know, they want to see you. They don't just want to see someone just trying to be viral or just doing what their management or what their label tells it to do. Because if it's not like true to you, I think it'll show and it'll just fail. And you know, you'll be making all these cringe videos that aren't going viral, and it'll just make you really unhappy and make you hate social media. So I think that, anyway, that's sort of what I've taken from it. Probably other people will have their own experiences or their own advice on how to make it as a musician in sort of the social media age. But that's just what I've learned, because I did try and do that, the stuff that people were telling me that I should be doing. And yeah, I just found that it wasn't working for me.
And you know, I can sort of relate with that with what I'm doing with live guitar solos. You know, there's so many of these influencers coming out with, you gotta this is what you gotta do to get this many hashtags, this many. I think it's all bull. They're just trying to get their own hits and build their own brand, really, because like you said, you got to build your own. What's genuine coming from you? People want to see you, and that's what you've done perfectly. I think that speaks more than anything else. That you're trying to, and then what? You're just going to have these try hard viral videos and with no personality. Like, people are going to just swipe past, right? But if you got a track record of, like you have, of music and you're known for your guitar and your aerial stuff. I mean, everyone, like, that, just you gotta take this into consideration. You know, that you can beat the algorithm by just being genuine.
Exactly. Do what works for you, and don't feel the pressure. You know, if you need to take a break, just do it. I know people, you know, will say that it might hurt your reach or whatever. And, you know, but at the end of the day, you're only a human. And unless you've got a whole team helping you that can help you put stuff out every day and really push that, it's a lot for an individual to do on their own. So I think you just have to be realistic about what you can do. And things like batch creating content, you know, is obviously something that a lot of people do now, which is really useful because it means that you can put a lot out there and not having to think about spending like half the day every day doing social media. You've got it there and it's ready to go. But for some people, that's just not going to be something that they're able to do. So just keep doing what works for you. And obviously that was just about social media. There's so much more than just being a social media musician. You know, get out there, go to shows, book some shows. And honestly, if you aren't able to get booked on shows, put on your own show, because that's what I did with my aerial stuff. And I thought, you know, the only way I'm going to get this show out there, like, I'm not going to find a show that's going to be able to accommodate for me to be able to do aerials in it and just hire me as, you know, as part of the show or as a support act or something. I'm going to have to go out there and put on my own show, which is what I did and what I'm going to continue to do.
That's so fantastic. And also, like, just a bit of what you just mentioned about reaching out to people, right? That's an important part of what you do, right? It's part of the hustle, right? To really get exposure out there of what you have, and to use your contacts and just communication, really.
Definitely. You know, when I started playing for the Dolls, I absolutely hated it when people would come up to me and try and talk to me after the show or in between the sets. Like, first of all, I was super shy, so I wasn't that good at talking to people anyway. But I would just always think like, why are they annoying me? Sometimes I would spend the entire break. I would go to the bathroom and just sit in the cubicle the entire break because nobody would talk to me there. But I think now I've really learned to embrace it. People just want to connect with you. And not everyone can, not everyone can connect musically with you. Some people just have to connect with you on a personal level. And they really like, it's not like I had many negative experiences, only a handful in the, like thousands of interactions that I would have had at shows. Most people just want to connect with you because they've felt something or they've really enjoyed your music or they just feel a connection with you as an artist and they just want to share that with you. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I definitely am much more embracing of connecting with people even in a non-musical way around shows, which I was never like that before.
I never would have imagined that. Like hiding in
Yeah,
the cubicle. Oh,
being
we're starting again.
being a musician has definitely helped my confidence. And yeah, I'm like even just from like a couple of years ago, like even after being in the street for a couple of years and then being in it for even more longer, it's really helped me with my confidence and it's just grown so much. So it's really helped me a lot in that sense because yeah, I would have just never talked to people that I didn't know.
It's part of well, that's the thing about just the communication. You got to get out of your shell, and if you want to promote yourself and be respectable, and it's not hard to do, So and I feel comfortable talking to you. So
I'm glad. I'm glad.
that's great. Look, Andrea, thank you so much for your time today, for the discussion and for the motivation that you've given us at the end there as well. But really, just we've been able to delve into your career and there's so much more to go for sure. But just to see the hard work that you put into what you've done to be where you are now, to just releasing your first music with the amazing epic film clips and which everyone needs to check out on all major platforms. YouTube for the film clips. Andrea's got a new EP coming up next year. Next year, did you say?
I'm hoping it'll be ready next year.
Very exciting. So, look, thank you so much, Andrea. We'll definitely keep in touch. I'm going to check out the Buckleys tonight.
Do it. Yes, you're going to have an awesome time tonight. Enjoy Thirsty Merc and the Buckleys.
I sure will. Thank you so much, Andrea. We'll definitely catch up soon and see you next time.
Great chatting with you. Have a great night.
Bye.